Hi, I'm Oscar,
And I'm Charlotte.
and together we are the F1 couple. So what we're going to be doing today is we're going to be having a little look at the F1 2021 liveries. We're going to be ranking them, scoring them out of 10, and just having a general discussion, really. What we've done is we've waited until after testing, so we have the benefit of seeing them running in real life rather than just sitting in a studio. So we'll go in championship order from last year, which means we're going to start with Mercedes. Now, I actually really like this car. I've given it 8.5 out of 10. And it's mainly down to it still being black, to be honest. Last year, I really liked when they came with the black livery. The original season launch, when they had it still in their normal silver, I wasn't overly in love with that car. But when it came back in black, with the fade, with the silver arrow, their logo fade on the back of it, I really liked that. And now this year, I think they've brought it again, in black, which is still pretty stunning. I love the view from the front. The Petronas blue on the front wing is really beautiful to me. Obviously, there's that problem with the AMGs on the back of the car where it's fading into grey. I don't love that. I don't think anyone loves that, really. I understand why people absolutely hate it. I don't absolutely hate it necessarily. I still think it looks fine. I don't love it, but it's fine. And then there's the Ineos bit on the air intake as well. I think last year they incorporated that a little bit better into the car. This year it just looks a bit bulbous, really. But I've rated it so highly, really, mainly because of the view from the front is so beautiful. The blue just seems to stand out so much nicer this year. So yeah, that's why I've rated it such.
Yeah, see, I completely agree with you, except for the fact that I've rated it 6.5 because I just can't forgive the horrible AMG bit on the side. And I totally agree with you, like the bluey-green, whatever you want to call it, on the front wing, and I really love the detail around the halo, but just the side, it's horrible.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you on the halo thing. Yeah, the bit of blue. When you see the camera on the T-cam looking down, that stands out really nicely as well. Yeah.
Yeah. I just can't forgive it for that. And the thing is, I think I just prefer the car from last year, and I'm just really disappointed in it. I mean, 6.5 is still a pretty decent score, right? It's more than average.
Yeah, I don't know. It's probably not more than the average I've for what I've given.
Well, say average is 5. It's better than average, but it's just like it's like you look at it at the front and you're like, yeah, this is great, and then it turns. You're like, oh man.
Yeah, I understand what you mean, but I've scored it down for the AMG thing, but I've not scored it down loads because ultimately it's just one part of the car. I understand why people absolutely hate the car overall because of this one thing, but I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to rate it down just because there's one bit wrong with it. I mean, it doesn't make up all of the car, does it?
Well, no, but I still there's no progression from last year. It's like going backwards, and that's why I've rated it so poorly. But I think we may just have to agree to disagree on this one.
Yeah, I think so. Well,
yeah.
Given that, should we move on?
Yeah, let's move on
to Red Bull.
Yeah.
Do you want to start this time?
Yeah, I'll start. So, okay, this one, I think we're going to have quite different opinions about this because I personally love the Red Bull livery. And I know that there's not been that many tweaks with it. And I did actually have to Google to find out what was different. Because I could see that the sponsors were a little bit different and the Aston Martin had gone from the side. But it's basically the same car. But at the same time, it's like, why fix what isn't broken? Like, I think it's beautiful. And I really I know they had a lighter blue a few years ago, didn't they? And then they did that horrible 2015 car, the black and white, graffiti one.
Oh, the testing one.
It's horrible. I'm sorry, but it's just, and kind of anything is better than that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they didn't race in that one though, so.
Yeah, well, even so, it's just nasty. But
Yeah.
my point is, I think the thing is, when you see a Red Bull go around a track, it just looks beautiful. And whatever you think of the team, because I know that it's a little bit controversial and there's a bit of a toxic environment, and some people don't like them for that. You can't deny that it's stunning when it goes around a track. Anyway, I gave it an 8 for that reason because I really like it.
Well, you said you thought we'd disagree, but I've actually given it an 8 as well.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because I do agree with you that this is an iconic livery, and they were never going to stray from their brand of how it looks. Like, they have an iconic livery here, and why would they change it? There is no reason to. Everyone knows when a car looks like that, it's going to be a Red Bull. I mean, I've not scored it any higher than that because there has been no change. I've seen a video of it where they swipe to show 2020 car and going into 2021 car, and there's literally nothing. It's
Yeah,
literally exactly the same. Like, even on the front wing, like, maybe I'd have expected something to change, like just something to move a little bit of the colour to move, but no, it was exactly the same.
Hey, that's not fair. The Honda logo on the front.
Oh, yeah, okay. There's a Honda logo now where there used to be Aston Martin, but that is it. But yeah, the car is beautiful itself. The matte finish on it is really nice. The blue color they're using at the moment, yeah, I agree with you, is really good.
Yeah.
And I like how the red and the yellow stand out as well.
Yeah.
I can't really fault how it looks, but the fact that there's no change, I would like to see some change, just something, just change something, like put some more lines, shift the logo a little bit.
Yeah, I did think, like, when I first saw it, I actually thought that the yellow was a bit more orangey, but I think actually having seen it this weekend at testing, I think it may have just been lighting in the initial photos.
Studio lighting, yeah.
But I have to admit, when I was like comparing the two, I did really enjoy it because it was like a grown-up spot the difference. Like, it's just like, but yeah, I suppose I'm actually surprised that we kind of agree on it.
Yeah, well, originally, when I first saw it at the launch, I was annoyed because like, oh, come on, Red Bull, change something. But the more and more you think about it, you're like, it's still a beautiful car.
Yeah.
If this was the first year of having this livery, then yeah, I'd have to rate it really highly.
Yeah. Is it more matte? Because again, I couldn't really tell.
It's not more matte than last year, I don't think, but more matte than it has been in the past, at least.
Yeah. Okay.
Cool.
Shall we move on?
Yeah. So next up we have McLaren. Again, another very similar livery to last year. Again, a bit of a adult spot the difference going on here. And for that reason, pretty much, I've given it the same as Red Bull. I've given it 8 as well. I'm a big fan of orange. I love the papaya that they're going with at the moment. I like the mix of the orange and the blue actually as well. I think it looks really smart. I probably actually just about prefer this livery to last year's one. I like what they've done with the nose. The little bit of blue right on the tip of the nose cone, where last year I think it was black. I like that little bit of change. But yeah, I mean, it's again not loads to say. It's pretty much carried over from last year.
Yeah.
Obviously, they've had lots to be doing inside the car, changing the engine from Renault to Mercedes. But yeah, I mean, I'm probably biased for this one because I'm a big fan of orange. So yeah, that's why I've rated it so high.
You're just a big fan of McLaren, though.
I am a big fan. I am a big fan of McLaren as well, to be fair. Yeah, but in this papaya, I really like it. I really like that they've gone without when they went without a few years ago. I mean, it was quite a brave move to going for bright orange. But for me, at least, it's really worked.
Yeah, I think it's beautiful. I actually agree with you. I give it an 8 as well. And you say there's no change, but there is more change than Red Bull. Some of the sponsors, at least, have moved around.
Oh, yeah.
And when I was doing my grown-up spot the difference, the rainbow on the side has changed the angle, and I actually think it has quite a big effect. Like, I know that sounds really stupid because it's such a tiny little change, but the way that it's gone from this sort of curved thing, and then it's now incorporated within the blue on the side, I think it's beautiful. And I just think it looks so striking. Like, when it drives around the track, you know exactly what team it is. Like, some of them, you know, some of the white ones or the darker ones, like, you were almost like, oh, who is that for a second? Like, a split second, you know. But you know that that's the McLaren car. And, like, I completely agree. Like, the blue on it is just, with the orange, is just beautiful.
Yeah.
And I actually would have kind of been gutted if they'd have changed too much about it. So, I'm not mad.
Yeah.
Cool.
So it's a nice looking car.
Yeah, it is a nice looking car.
Cool. Should we move on?
Yeah, let's move on.
Okay.
So, Aston Martin.
Yeah.
Okay, first of all, I just want to say that despite the fact I'm a girl who is very much a girly girl and loves pink, I could not stand the Racing Point. It was horrible. And I know that it was, we had a conversation about this, and I know that it's because of the sponsor that it was pink, but like, oh. So anyway, when I found out like we were going and turning green, I was a little bit cautious, but the green that they've come out with is stunning. And anyway, I give it a 9. I think some of that is because it's one of the new ones, so it's a little bit exciting, but I just think the colour of it is gorgeous. I didn't give it a 10. The reason for it was that I actually think it looks beautiful in the photos, and I think it looks beautiful close up, but actually on the track, it's not, like I said, the McLaren looks striking. Like, you don't get that from this car. And I love the pink on the side and like the little detail on the front wing as well, but you just don't see it when it's on the track, and I actually found it really disappointing from that point of view, but I can't get over how beautiful it looks, so I've still given it a 9.
Yeah, I'm interested. I'm interested that you're still giving it a 9, given that you saw it on track and was disappointed, because I was exactly the same. I really liked how this car looked when it was in the studio, when it was at the launch. I thought it was amazing, but when it was on track, I was so underwhelmed. So I've actually only given it 5.5, just because I don't think it stands out at all. I mean, last year when it was called the Pink Mercedes, and there was that whole thing about it. But obviously you could tell it was different Mercedes because it was pink. But now, when it's this dark car going around the track, I actually once or twice have got confused and been like, oh, is that a Mercedes? Oh no, that's just dark green.
Yeah.
So I don't really like it. I agree. When it was in the studio, I was like, wow, this is probably going to be one of my favourites, to be honest. I wasn't overly gassed about the pink going down it. I've seen the edits where it was in its original lime green, and I thought that was amazing. The pink, I think it's still all right. I mean, it's a nice enough pink. It's quite bright and it does stand out. But yeah, on the track, I just don't enjoy looking at this car. I don't think it stands out at all. Like, British Racing Green, it's just not really working. I was with you though with the pink. I wasn't ever a big fan of the pink on the Racing Points. I wasn't ever. I like if it's going to be pink, I want it to be a bright pink.
Yeah, it always.
And I just
happy.
always it was always a bit pastely.
Yeah.
A bit too pastely for me. A bit too baby pink maybe.
A bit of a Barbie car.
Yeah. But you say that, I would rather it be Barbie pink, like a nice bright sort of fuchsia maybe.
Yeah, I like even the pink that was like under the BWT logo. If
Yeah.
the car was that colour, I could get a bit more on board with it. But I think for me it was just relief that it wasn't pink anymore.
Yeah. Well, yeah, maybe. We digress. We've talked a bit too much about the 2020 car for that one, I think.
That's okay.
Should we move on though?
Yeah, let's move on. What did you think of the Alpine?
Yeah, well, this is a very easy one for me. I've full on given it 10. I think this is a beautiful car. It's just like the blue, the electric blue on that. I love that colour. And I think the finish to it is really clever because it's sort of both matte and shiny at the same time. It's just amazing. It's this colour sort of because with them testing in Bahrain, we get to see them in light and dark, and it works really well in both.
Yeah.
And it sort of changes the sort of shimmer. It sort of changes it, whether it's light, whether it's sunny or cloudy, or whether it's nighttime. I just think it's a beautiful car. I don't have lots to say on it. It's just amazing. I just love it. Maybe, I don't know, I've given it 10. There's not really anything I'd change about it. Like looking at it from the front and from the T-cam, it looks incredible. Maybe from the side, maybe that's right at the back of the car is not amazing, but maybe that's just because that's not lovely shiny blue. I don't know. It's got that bit of red on it. Maybe it's all shiny blue though. Wouldn't look as good. It needs that bit of light and shade to it.
I completely disagree with you about the back of the car. And one of the things that I actually wrote down was that I really like the way that they've kind of, I don't know, highlighted your nice shimmery blue, whatever you said, by having the black front wing and the black back of the car. I just think it's really cleverly done, and the way that they've incorporated the French flag, the French flag into it, I just think it's beautiful. I love the red at the back, and I just think I'm a little bit annoyed that you said this because I was going to say it, but it looks beautiful in day and night. It's just, it just kind of made my heart sing when I saw it. I actually texted you when you were at work, didn't I? I think I said, "Have you seen the new Alpine? It's sexy." And I think that's kind of like I don't know if there's any other way to describe it. Yeah. And I was a little bit, because I really liked the Renault. I liked the yellow on it, and I was a bit like, when I sort of heard rumours that it was going to be looking a bit like this, I was a bit disappointed. But yeah, I just think it outshines everything else on the track, doesn't it?
Yeah. I think something I'm going to come on to is some of the later cars. You mentioned about having the black front wing. Like, usually I think if there's a black front wing, it doesn't stand out that much. I don't really like it. But because the rest of the car is absolutely beautiful, I think even that works as well. It's just really nicely. It's
just so understated, and I just think, yeah, I completely agree with you. It all just works together. Yeah. It's not like we said about the Mercedes, like, yeah, it's a really nice car until you look at that bit at the back. Like, it just flows, and it's...
Yeah, it just all works really well.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think throughout the season, like, sometimes your mind changes on which car you think looks the best, but I'm pretty sure this is going to be my favourite throughout.
Yeah. And, yeah, I think we need to move on, because otherwise we're going to just sit and talk about this for the whole time.
Yeah.
Right, so the Ferrari, although saying that, I thought we were going to differ on the Red Bull. I really think we're going to differ on this one, just from what we've said before. But what did you give it?
Well, I've given Ferrari a 6. I'm not going to lie, I don't love it. I don't hate it. I mean, that's probably why I've given it a 6, fairly middle of the road. They've gone fairly similar with most of it, as you would expect, in red. I mean, what else would you want from a Ferrari really like that? Obviously, there's this new detailing with the green logo for the Mission Winnow on it, and then the sort of burgundy bit right at the rear of the car, sort of throwing back to their 1000th race car they did in Mugello. And yeah, I maybe controversially, I think the green kind of works. I kind of like that. Red and green, they do go together, you know, those sort of classic Christmassy colours.
Yeah, that's just what you want a Christmas F1 car.
Not that you want the car to be Christmassy, but like red and green, they do work. But I really don't like then how it then goes into this burgundy at the back. Don't get me wrong, I really liked their 1000th edition car livery they did, and that they raced in at Mugello. I really like that. But I don't like how this is both their normal red and then a little bit of that 1000th car. I don't think the fade works. It doesn't look great. I think if they have just left that bit going, like red continuing, maybe, I mean, it would look fairly similar to last year's car, but that little bit of green, something different. That's that thing I was talking about with Red Bull. It's just that something different that they're bringing. I mean, I know it's green. It's green. It's not Ferrari color, but I think it works okay. But ultimately, I don't love it. It's not something I think brings a lot more to the car, and that's why I've given it a 6.
Yeah. Okay. So I give it a 5. I have basically the opposite opinion to you, like entirely. I cannot stand the neon green. It just looks like it's been plonked there, and it doesn't look like it belongs on a Ferrari, and it just upsets me. And it looks even worse when they're on track. To be honest with you, when I first saw the pictures of it, I was like, "Ooh, that's different," and like it didn't quite sit right with me, but I wasn't against it. But like seeing it on track, I just can't stand it. And I actually really like the fade. In fairness, I don't think the fade has been done particularly well. I think there should be like a transition bit, but I think it shapes the back of the car really nicely. And I like that that's the slightly different thing that they've done on the Ferrari, but just plonking a neon green logo on it hurts me. Yeah. From the front, I look at the car and I'm like, yeah, that's nice. That's a Ferrari. That's exactly what I want it to be and expect it to be. And then it turns. It's a bit like the Mercedes. It turns and I'm upset.
Well, I think it's a very good point you actually made with the fade there. I think when I think about other fades that have been on F1 cars in the past, they don't really do this where they go from one block color straight to another block color without some sort of shape in the middle of it. I'm thinking of the McLaren a couple of years ago when it went from papaya to blue and it had some sort of geometric shaping going through. And I'm thinking of the Mercedes last year where it had the little silver logos on it, where it sort of faded it from black into a little bit of silver at the end. And they work, but here it's just going from one block color to another block color with no sort of geometric shaping in there, and I don't think it works one bit. One thing that I think will be interesting though is last year when Ferrari launched their car and when they tested it, they had the Mission Winnow logo on there in black, but then when it actually came to racing it, they took it off. So
Fingers crossed.
yeah. Well, fingers crossed. Maybe they'll take off the green, but then I thought it looked a bit bare when there was nothing there. It looked a bit naked when it didn't have that logo there. So I don't know. I don't know if that's a positive for me. I'm sure it's a positive for you if it will come off.
Yeah. Also, the number, the number on the back, the font's changed a little bit,
It has.
and I quite like that, honestly.
You like it? I think it looks a little bit childish, to be honest. A little bit Comic Sans for me. It looks like the sort of things you have like number magnets that you put on the fridge when you're like 3.
It's weird actually because you say that. I like it on the side, but I don't really like it on the front, and I appreciate that it's the exact same font, but it just somehow looks different. But I don't know if that's just the size of it in proportion to the nose or what. But anyway,
Yeah.
shall we move on?
Yes.
AlphaTauri.
Yeah.
Okay, I love this car. I say I love this car. I've given it a 7. I don't love it. Like it's still, like there's only so much you can do with an AlphaTauri. Like it's fairly bland, but I like the dark blue black color with the white, and I think there's a really nice trim around where the black meets the white, and I think that detail just sort of brings something different from it. I really, and also on the front wing and the back. Shall I try again?
Yeah.
The front wing and the back wing, where they had their logo last year, and it's actually written as AlphaTauri this year. I think it just looks so much classier, and it's like so much cleaner than the previous car. And I don't know if this is just a personal thing, but I really like the black noses and the black front wing, and I just prefer it so much more compared to last year's car that it's got that. The only thing, when I first saw it though, I did say that it could have been designed by a 10-year-old. Like it's very like quite blocky, but I think it works. And I just think like last year's car I didn't like because it was just logo overload, whereas this year it just looks a lot more elegant. I think when I say I love it, I mean I love it in comparison to last year's, which I didn't really like. So it's definitely not my favourite one, like on the grid, but it's just so much better than last year's car for me.
Yeah. I think my opinion is basically exactly the opposite of yours, yet I have still given it the same score of 7. Because I loved last year's car. It was probably my second favourite after the Mercedes.
Really?
Yeah, I really liked looking at it from the front, the white at the front, and then how that flowed into the sort of the dark navy at the back. I really liked how that worked. So obviously when this was launched, I was disappointed to see that the white at the front wasn't there anymore. Again, looking at it from the front, I don't think it stands out that much. It's sort of that just general dark, like I was saying about the Aston Martin earlier on as well. But the more and more that I've seen this car, the more and more I've liked it, actually. On launch day, I saw it, I was like, oh no. Oh no, the white's gone from the front. I'm not going to be a fan of this. But the more and more I've seen it, it's grown on me. And what you said about the rear wing, actually, I hadn't noticed that before. That's actually looks much nicer now. It's just got Honda there rather than AlphaTauri fashion, which was just too small really for a rear wing. They have to have those sort of big letters on it.
I meant on the side actually.
Oh, you're talking about on the
On the actual side of the
oh,
wing.
and where
Sorry.
they said it before, and now it's just gone to a big logo. Well, okay, fair point as well. I think, but
I think-
definitely the rear wing where it says Honda,
Yeah.
where it said AlphaTauri fashion before,
See-
that was just too small.
Yeah, see, I'd not noticed that.
Yeah, I see.
But
I don't mind it. I don't mind this car. I think it's nice. I think it looks clean. It looks good. But I just preferred last year's. So, I mean, if it was doing a change from last year to this year, then it would probably be lower in my opinion. But I think I've tried my best to look at it on its own. I think then it falls at a 7 for me.
yeah, I think as well, when we talked about this a little bit before, you said that you kind of didn't like the way it was a little bit more Red Bull, like that black nose. And whereas I quite liked that, it was almost like a little nod to it.
Yeah.
I almost, and maybe this is a bit silly, but I feel like highlighting the relationship in some way. Maybe I'm reading far too much into this, but that's how it feels to me, and I think that's why I like it. It's still an AlphaTauri, but it's also, I don't know. I just like it.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I think there are enough things already paying homage to the Red Bull brand in there. I mean, they're using their fashion brand now as the title of the car of the team's name, and they've always had that Bull logo on it still, no matter what. So I don't really think they need to pay any more homage than that to the sister team there. So yeah, I mean, for me, if they'd have kept that white nose at the front instead of playing this sort of reverse and switching it around, that would be, in my opinion, that'd be my personal preference. But you know, it is what it is. 7's still okay.
Yeah. Speaking of switching things around, the Alfa Romeo. What did you give this one?
So when I first went to score these, I had both the Alphas together on 7. I found it quite difficult to split them. But in the end, I've given this 7.5, slightly ahead. Again, I was a little bit disappointed when I first saw this at launch, because I really liked this last year. Not quite as much as the AlphaTauri, but the Alfa Romeo I did still really like. I liked the red at the top of the car and the white underneath. I thought the red was a really nice red as well. The red slightly changed this year, but again, it's growing on me more and more. Obviously, there's been quite a change to the front wing of the car. I believe this is where the team have spent their development tokens, to change this. And again, I prefer the look of this now. I prefer the look of the nose. Again, when I was talking about dark wings earlier, their front wing last year was just black, and I wasn't really a big fan of that. So I do appreciate that they've made this like white and red now this year. I think that stands out a bit more, and it works with this car because the front of it is just clean. It's just white. There's not like a bright colour coming through there. So that's why I think that works. But yeah, it has grown more and more on me the more I've seen it. The colour scheme, you can't really go wrong with white and red. I think that's just sort of something that always will work. I know when I'm a Formula E fan as well, as you well know. And last season or the season before, so many teams came out with white and red liveries. So it clearly is a good thing to have them in that colour. It clearly works. There's clearly some appeal. But yeah, I'm not amazed by it. It's just good. It's nice. It's clean. And that's why it gets 7.5 from me.
Okay, this is going to sound a little bit controversial now you've just said that. I really don't like the Alfa Romeo branding, like the red and the white to me. I don't know what it is about it, but it's just a bit, I don't want to say basic, but it's it's nothing special to me. And I didn't really like last year's car. It never drew my attention into it. And I'm kind of the same with this year. However, I much prefer the front of this car. The red detail at the bottom of the front wing is beautiful, and the white above it is just stunning. I don't really know if I like the red halo on the white. It's a little bit weird for me, but I think the little bird on the side, he stands out so much better. He's a he. He stands out a lot better on the side, I think, and I just think it brings something to the car which you couldn't really see before. And I really like the tiny little green bit from the 4-leaf clover. And it sounds a bit weird, but it's just, I think it's a lot more striking than it was last year on the side. But But yeah, it doesn't sit that well with me. But
Yes.
I have still given it a 6, so, you know, I'm not too mad.
Yeah, it's a good point you make actually about the Orlan logo with the bird, because yeah, I hadn't really noticed that last year, but this year that does stand out pretty well. Last year, like the Alfa Romeo logo on the side of it did stand out well, but the Orlan one not so much. But this year, I think they both do stand out well. So yeah, I think maybe that is an improvement.
Yeah.
I think the thing you were saying about red and white is the Alfa Romeo brand is kind of red and white. It would be unusual to see them not sporting those
Well,
colours
yeah, I
in
know,
some
but
way.
it
It'd be
doesn't-
like seeing a Ferrari that's not red or a Mercedes that's not silver. Even though I know that is what's happened.
But that is exactly why I said I don't like their branding. It just doesn't work for me.
Yeah.
And that's just my opinion, so.
Yeah, both of us sort of middle of the road with
Yeah,
this one. Then
it's
really.
okay. It
Yeah.
doesn't make me angry, but it's nothing special. Speaking of things that make me angry, the Haas. I was just so confused by this car. I don't understand why it's suddenly Russian. I mean, I do, because, you know, mouse pin. But I don't understand why it's just turned into a Russian flag. Now, don't get me wrong, nothing could have been worse than the Rich Energy, horrible, dirty gold colour that was on it. I hated it, like, with a passion. It made me almost feel a little bit ill. Possibly a bit dramatic, but you get my point. And I do think it's, like, quite clean. But I really liked last year's Haas, and to me it's not Haas. And I think that's why I'm upset about it. And it looks really clean. I really like the colours on the front wing. I always feel like I know there's a big, like, controversy around the halo and it, like, looking kind of ugly. But I think the way that it's white, it almost camouflages it. And I think that they've done that really well. But I've given it a 5 because it's just not Haas to me.
Yeah, I understand that, and don't get me wrong, I don't particularly like this livery, but I've given it more than that. I've given it 6.5. I get it. It's not particularly Haas looking colours there. I mean, you know, they're usually in their sort of grey, yes, some red, some black probably as well. And I'm not a big fan of it just looking like a massive Russian flag driving around the track. I'm not really a big fan of that.
Nothing against the Russians.
Yeah, nothing against the Russians. But just not a big fan of any flag really driving around the track. Imagine if it was like if Haas had done like a Star Spangled Banner sort of looking car. I don't think that would have looked good either.
Yeah.
But I can't. There's part of me that just does like the look of this car because it just looks sort of like a little toy car, really. Just the block colours on it.
Yeah.
It just looks something like you should get in a cracker or something.
Yeah. It does sort of look like a child's not finished colouring it in, though.
Yeah. But like I didn't really like the Haas last year. It was just sort of a bit bland to me. I think both years the lack of sponsors is telling on the car. But I think last year's it stood out more. This year's, I think, probably because they've got that big title sponsor in there, Ural Alki.
Yeah.
I think I said that wrong, but
That's fine.
it doesn't matter. I think that brings something to it. Obviously, the downside there may be some now just to the Russian flag. But I think that at least brings something more to it.
Yeah.
Last year when the sort of shark fin element of it was just black.
Oh, see, I liked that.
No, I don't really like that. It's just sort of when you do something big like black like that, it just sort of takes away. It just sort of bends into the background then.
I don't know. I think it looks quite fierce.
Yeah, maybe I just sort of maybe you do want that. Maybe you want to slim the car down, make it look a little bit leaner. I don't know. I don't have much more to add on this one. It's just
a bit.
the only thing you can say about it really is it's a Russian flag that's driving around the track, and that's kind of it. There's no more personality to it than that.
That's, I think, exactly why I have an issue with it, is because it's got no personality.
Yeah.
Which, like, when you compare it to the Alpine or the Mclaren, which has it's just got such a huge personality coming through it, and then you've got the Haas. There's
Just not much else.
no.
Anyway, talking of personality, I think we can move on to another one that has personality. I'm not going to say whether it's positive or not. We'll talk about the Williams now. I think I'll let you start with this one.
Okay, I really like this car. I've given it an 8.5, which I think is one of the highest scores that I've given. I really like the side. I like the pattern. It's so different to last year's. I think the nose is a little bit basic, but I think the transition is really nice. And I really like the yellow that they've brought in as a bit of a nod to the classic Williams cars. But what I did find was that I watched the F1 Instagram Live with George Russell on the day of the launch, and it was so funny. They asked him if he liked the car, and he was like, yeah. And you could just hear it that he wasn't sure. Yeah. But yeah, I think it's just got a completely different vibe to last year, and I like it. The only thing I would say, though, is that it's a little bit off topic, but Russell's helmet in the car looks really weird. The Tiffy's blue one looks great, but the red helmet just doesn't fit the vibe. And I'm not opposed to crazy helmets. Like, don't get me wrong, like I love Lando's helmets, but it just doesn't go, and I think it kind of ruins it for me.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with you on that point. I think George's helmet, because there's already a lot going on with the car, it doesn't add anything in a positive way. I think if you look at Mick Schumacher in the Haas, his green helmet like adds something to the look of that car, even though it's not a car that fits in the scheme. It really adds to it. But here, it takes away, I think, because there's already way too much going on with the car. I mean, I've given this car a score of 4 because I really don't like it at all. I think there's way too much going on. It's already way too busy. Like, I should like this car because the blues on it, they really appeal to me. But just the pattern of it going down the side doesn't work at all. And with the addition of the yellow on there, it makes it really quite grim. Like, last year's car was, kind of boring, kind of corporate. It looked more like a business proposal than a livery, really. But it was fine. It was clean. This year, it's the complete opposite. It's just not clean. It's messy, basically. And the car style doesn't flow through the car at all. Like, you start with the nose, and it's kind of similar to last year. It's just all plain white going on. And then it just quite abruptly changes into this pretty horrible pattern at the rear. And I appreciate what you said about it's nice that they're nodding to the past, including some of the yellow. But if you're going to nod to that, you have to do it well. You have to do a nice livery. And in my opinion, those liveries on the Williams in the 80s and 90s were beautiful. So just do something similar to that. Don't do it in such a horrible way here. One thing I will say for this car is that maybe saves it a little bit, that maybe is why it's not a 1 or a 2 for me, is again with the front wing, how last year it was black and this year it's white, which makes it a little bit nicer. There's at least some points there. I think if that was black again, this would have been probably one of the worst liveries ever, in my opinion, yeah.
Something I actually don't like about the car is I don't like the black halo. I think it's kind of clever if you don't like the halo, because you don't notice it. But I just think it looks like it's just plonked there.
Yeah, maybe they thought there wasn't any need to add anything else to this car. Maybe they wanted that bit to sort of be invisible.
It doesn't look like it was the vibe they were going for.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think we may need to agree to disagree on this one.
Yeah, I think that would be wise. Yeah. Well, that's all of them then. Please feel free to tell us why we're right or why we're wrong, and rank yours as well. And let us know what you think on the liveries and what you're most looking forward to in the season as it's about to start. Feel free to follow us as well on Instagram or on Twitter. We're at the F1 Couple. And yeah, that's all from us. And until next time, we'll see you later.
Bye.